Hello. Today I am going to talk about the difference between a VPN connection and secure remote access. I currently have a VPN connection to my data center. By the way, I'm Karen Gondoli, the CEO of Leostream, and I'm allowed to connect to Leostream's data center because I'm the CEO. So the VPN is fine. But what about your vendors? If I have someone who's a vendor for Leostream and they need to connect to our data center, the last thing I want to do is give them a VPN connection and carte blanche access to our network. So instead, I want a solution for secure remote access. If you think about a VPN, VPNs have been around for a very long time in the scheme of IT. And they were built for a different era. Back in the day, we used to talk about this castle and moat type of security because everybody went into the office, which was my castle, and then I built a wall of a moat around it, which was my firewall. And then the VPNs could kind of be bridges to let me in if I happen to not be in the castle. That is not how today's IT infrastructures are designed. Today's a very hybrid world where you have a mixture of on-prem infrastructure as well as cloud, and then you have a mixture of on-prem users as well as remote, and also that mixture of employees and vendors. And a VPN is just not a good solution for that type of hybrid environment. Instead, you want to look at a remote access solution that gets you away from thinking about the network and more about how do I provide access to specific resources. So, some more reasons why VPNs are just no good. Well, they're fine, but why you should look beyond them specifically when you're talking about vendor access. Again, as I mentioned, broad network exposure. I am allowed to log into my network for Leostream and wander around and go to different files and different servers, but vendors should not have that sort of access. You want to be able to give them least privileged access to only the resources that they need for whatever it is you've hired them to do. And then the other thing is some VPNs do allow you to say this particular user just has access to a particular IP address. That's a setup nightmare, it's a maintenance nightmare, and it also means you have no visibility after the connection actually happens. If once I'm in through the VPN, I can wander around, maybe get to another system you don't know. The other thing too, particularly when you're talking about vendors, is a VPN, I had to install software on my laptop. And for my laptop, that's a corporate managed device. That may be okay. But for vendors or for an organization that's doing BYOD, you're not maintaining those devices. You're not managing the software on them, and you don't want to. So having a VPN that requires software installed on it is basically a bad solution for you. And the last thing, obviously, about VPNs, what it all really comes down to is that you're really increasing the risk that your organization is subjecting itself to when it comes to third-party vendors and contractors if you allow them in through a VPN. So instead of just giving them access to the network, as I mentioned, give them access to specific resources and do it in a secure way. And what that often means is make sure you have that browser-based access. So again, no software needs to be installed on the vendor's device, and with the connection to the resource being in the browser, that locks down USB redirection so you don't have them grabbing, like plugging in USB devices into that remote resource and potentially grabbing files. You also want to make sure that, again, it's about the resource. Only approved desktops and applications should be exposed to your vendors, not the entire network. Also, you need to make sure that a secure remote access solution has strong identity integration. So maybe that means working your vendors into your SAML-based identity provider. Maybe you're an Entra ID shop. You want to be able to easily onboard and offboard vendors by making them part of your Entra ID directory. But also, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe what you actually want is for the secure access solution, your VPAM solution, to manage the identities of your vendors. So you want to have that flexibility, but also be able to design authentication that adheres to very important zero trust concepts such as MFA. Another thing is you need to have a solution that works across all of your different environments. I mentioned hybrid. Everybody's going hybrid. So if you have resources in your data center or up in the cloud, whatever operating system these happen to be, whatever use case they're for, whether it be a kind of commodity system or a more GPU enabled system, you need a VPN solution, a secure remote access solution that can handle all of those different types of systems. And of course, while giving IT full visibility into who's using what, from where, for how long, and all that good stuff. So that's where Leostream VPN comes in. Some of the great things that we allow you to do is, one, very importantly, gives you this time-bound access based on requests and approvals. So unlike a VPN where people just can connect in whenever, here you're able to say, no, you are allowed to connect in between midnight and 5 because I want you not to be touching my production systems during business hours. And then that's when the vendor can request access, and then you have to approve it. And again, because it's based on these resources, that's really enforcing these least privileged access concepts that are so important for security, making sure people only have access to the systems that they're supposed to have access to, and even more importantly, the data they're supposed to have access to. We do record and monitor the sessions. We have some session recordings, so you will have records of all the things your vendors are doing on your system. So it's a screen recording, so you get the video, and you see the keystrokes and what they're doing with the mouse, and you have that stored up in your cloud or up in your system so that you can refer back to them for audit and compliance reasons. And really another key, secure access is very important, but IT has a lot of things on their mind. So what you want to do is simplify their lives wherever you can. And a VPN just adds complexity, whether that be, again, managing the software associated with it or configuring it, remembering to offboard accounts. There's a lot that can be forgotten. It's just from a process standpoint when working with a VPN. So a secure clientless remote access solution can really help IT remain compliant and keep your data secure while making sure vendors have access to what they need. So to show you quickly what the Leostream solution for VPN looks like, here is my VPN demo account. So I am, in this case, let's say I'm working at Leostream and we have a vendor who needs to connect in. So I'm going to log in as the administrator of my account. We do require MFA. In my case, it's looking for a new Google Authenticator code, not one of the ones I've already typed in there. So let's just give this a chance to, and then I can verify that. So now I can come in and I can see, okay, are there any vendors who have already been looking for access to resources that I've permitted them to ask for? So I have one pending request. I don't have any vendors who are currently able to connect to any of my resources, and no one's actively connected. So this is the dashboard that the administrator lands on. And then the setup is very simple. Again, it's all about simplifying IT. So I just install some gateways, and here's the key to the VPN-less access. I can install gateways, or I can have my customers install gateways wherever they're needed to access the resources that I need to manage. I happen to be managing systems up in AWS. So I'm going to say I have a vendor who needs to come in and connect to, happens to be this VM right here, which is a database server, and they're going to connect through my gateway here so that they can perform their maintenance. So this is my vendor. So Milo's a vendor, and he manages my database server. So now he signs in. His two-factor happens to go through Duo, so those are the two options that we have for MFA. As I mentioned, you can wrap this into Entra ID as well. I just happen to be using the VPN portal's built-in authentication. So poor Milo's still waiting for this request to be pending. So while that's there, he can't actually connect. He knows he needs to connect. He can come in here, maybe modify the times during which he needs to connect, maybe pass some notes back to me to let me know why he needs to connect. But in the end, he can't do anything until I actually approve that request, which I can do back here on the request page. So here I can see requests that have happened in the past. The one highlighted in green is still pending. Maybe I want to reject it. Maybe I want to approve it. I can also change it. I did say that he should not be working during production hours, so I can come in here and change the times and send back a little note if need be. But since I can show you what the connection looks like, though, I'm just going to go ahead and approve it. So now that connection is approved. And so now Milo, if I come in here and refresh this page, now we'll see that there's actually a launch button here. So this is, again, an in-browser connection. So when I launch, Milo is warned that this session is going to be recorded. And by default, we also time them out after 60 minutes. Now, you have control over that, but the whole idea here is to make it so that your vendors aren't connected to your systems for longer than they really should be. When I go ahead and connect, again, this is going through my gateway, and I get this in-browser connection to the remote resource. And there he's logging in. And now the key here is Milo doesn't know the credentials that were used to log into this machine. He logged into the Leostream portal using his Leostream portal credentials. He's actually logged in here as the administrator for the account so that he can perform tasks on this machine, but he doesn't know those credentials. Then that is another key for secure access, is you don't want credentials leaving your organization. And again, this is all being recorded for you. So now if I go back as an admin and I look at the sessions page, I can see that I actually have an active session here. I can see how long it's been running, what they've connected to. And if I want, I can actually kill the session to kick them out, or I can look at the recording up to date. Now, this isn't session shadowing just now. That will be in a later version of the platform. But right now, I can actually view what has Milo done up until this point. And that's just a quick overview of some of the functionality that we have in our VPN product for secure vendor access to your corporate resources. If you want to learn more, reach out to us at info@leostream.com. Thank you.